To all the crazy people on social media calling her, basically calling her every name under the sun because she chose to play in Indiana. These are the same people that are like, oh, she'll never play in Indiana for obvious reasons. And she went and defended the Indiana fans and was like, talking about, she was basically like, talking positively about the fans that were interacting with her positively, and was responding to one of the crazy posts about her being like, I'm getting screenshots of things you were saying about me. Can you just stop?
DeWanna Bonner just broke her 6-month Twitter silence, and she didn't come back with a casual, hey, I'm back post. No, she dropped a bombshell that has the whole WNBA talking. Not only is she joining the Indiana Fever, but she's also flipping the script on the most tired narrative out there. You know the one. Caitlin Clark and Indiana Fever fans are toxic. Yeah, that's gone now, as Bonner buried it with one tweet.
This WNBA offseason told a lot of dumbass narratives, right? It really did. And I hope they're gone for good. And I hope we spend so much less time discussing nonsense. But I think we've seen it stamped out this offseason. And one of those narratives was people wouldn't want to go to the Fever because of the Fever fan base.
Now, you might be thinking, isn't that the team everyone loves to hate? Well, Bonner's not having it. She hit send on a tweet that's shaking the league to its core. And trust me, it's about more than just basketball.
It goes to show you that I think hopefully all that stuff has been put in the rear view. And of course, Bonner is a pro.
Picture this. Bonner scrolling through her phone, probably sipping on some coffee when she stumbles across the usual nonsense. Fans trashing her for signing with Indiana, the haters saying no one wants to play for the Fever, and the so-called experts still clinging to the narrative like it's the last slice of pizza at a party. But instead of ignoring it, Bonner snapped. She didn't just clap back. She obliterated that weak narrative with the precision of one of her signature shot blocks.
Y'all, I don't get on here often because this app is insanely too much sometimes. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the love I've received so far. Def not unnoticed. The love is real.
Her tweet? Pure gold. She didn't just defend herself. She went all in for Indiana Fever fans. Bonner basically said, y'all are loud, passionate, and real. That's not toxic. That's what real fandom looks like. She didn't stop there. She called out the hypocrisy too. How is it that when other fan bases are passionate, it's support, but when Indiana does it, it's something else? Make it make sense.
She's gone online for 2 times. One is to call out the crazy people attacking her right now because she joined the Fever.
And here's why this matters. Bonner isn't just some rookie trying to make headlines. She's a champion, one of the legends of the game, and a walking bucket. And when she speaks, the whole league listens. This isn't just some player venting online. This is a respected leader calling out the nonsense. She's seen it all in the WNBA, and she's not afraid to say what everyone's been thinking.
You know, Fever fans are probably starving for that. And I think seeing the validation of the players choosing their team.
But here's the plot twist. Her tweet wasn't just about the fans. Bonner basically put the entire league on notice. She made it clear, Indiana isn't just some team struggling to stay relevant. With Caitlin Clark leading the charge, the Fever are building something special, and Bonner's here for it. She's not just joining a team, she's joining a movement.
And it's funny because if you're seeing like DeWanna Bonner, if you're seeing like Natasha Howard, on social media, Natasha Howard's posts are getting 100 times more likes, and DeWanna Bonner's being reacted more positively probably than she ever has been in her career right now.
And guess what? The response has been overwhelming. Fans are rallying behind her. Fever supporters are louder than ever, and even players from other teams are jumping in to show love. The narrative? Flipped. Completely.
Be an olive branch to us all to focus on the basketball. But I did think it was worth sharing simply because I know a lot of those fans, the new fans, felt rejected and beaten down a lot. And I think this is symbolic.
Now, all those haters who swore no one wanted to play for Indiana are scrambling, pretending they never said a word. Meanwhile, Bonner, Caitlin Clark, and the Fever are out here plotting their next move. And spoiler alert, it's going to be legendary.
You know, no argument that the Fever are a great basketball destination. That Caitlin Clark is a great basketball.
You've probably heard about the so-called Indiana Fever fan controversy. But do you really know the whole story? It all started when Alyssa Thomas, Bonner's own wife, decided to stir the pot. She claimed that Fever fans were so scary, players were avoiding the team like it was some kind of basketball wasteland.
In my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it, and we've been professional throughout the whole entire thing, but I've never been called the things that I've been called on social media.
But here's the plot twist. Despite all that noise, star players are literally lining up to join the Fever. DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard. These aren't just role players. These are certified WNBA stars. They saw the so-called toxic fan base headlines and said, yeah, sign me up anyway. Now let's talk facts. The numbers? They don't lie. Fever fan engagement is through the roof. We're talking sold-out arenas, merch flying off the shelves, and social media buzzing like it's draft night every day. This fan base isn't toxic, it's electric. And let's not forget the Caitlin Clark effect. This isn't just a player making waves. She's a tsunami. Clark isn't just bringing in new fans. She's converting casuals into diehards. The same team people called irrelevant a few years ago is now the hottest ticket in town. It's like judging an entire library because one book had a torn page. Make it make sense.
The Fever fan base being painted with this broad brushstroke was always just stupid, really. There's no other word for it, because Caitlin Clark brought more fans to the league than it's ever seen. So many of them are Fever fans, and the new fans that come in outnumber the old fans that were already there. You don't want to tell those people they're unwelcome.
So what's really going on here? Is the Fever fan base as mean as a few salty players claim? Absolutely not. Every team's got a couple of bad apples. That's sports. But let's be real. Those people don't define the culture. The fan base is passionate. And that passion is exactly what's fueling the Fever's rise.
And a lot of fans, I think, felt unwelcome as a result of that, because when you look at every sport and every fan base, there are going to be bad apples. With every group of people, there are. And the larger that group becomes, of course, then the larger the small percentage of bad apples are. But if you've ever followed sports, you see people acting stupid online or even live at games.
Here's the reality. Why are star players suddenly flocking to Indiana? It's simple. They see the vision. They know what's cooking in that front office. Maybe it's the chance to win, maybe it's the endorsements, or maybe, just maybe, they realized that Indiana Fever fans are the backbone of something special, not the problem.
It is, if you're good and you're playing well, it's great to be a Fever. If you're playing badly, it is the worst place you can be. And if you're a WNBA player, you've got to be able to handle that.
The WNBA's landscape is shifting, and Indiana's at the center of it. So, to the haters, keep talking. Because while you're busy tweeting, the Fever are busy winning. Think about it for a second. If the Indiana Fever's fan base was really that terrible, would top-tier players be lining up to sign contracts? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's almost like the narrative some people push doesn't match reality. Shocking, right? What these athletes see is something completely different from the tired old headlines. And honestly, they're the ones who matter.
With Natasha Howard, it was very clear that like that potential for stardom, which she never had in her career, no matter how good she's been, outweighed like any potential like downsides of playing for the Fever. And then for DeWanna Bonner, she had all those connections to Indiana. She had connections to Stephanie White.
You might think you've got the full story about the Indiana Fever, but there's a comeback happening right now that nobody predicted. Remember when people acted like the Fever were some kind of basketball wasteland? What changed? Let's break down how Indiana flipped the script and silenced the haters. First, we've got to talk about Caitlin Clark. She's not just a superstar, she's a walking headline, a sellout crowd magnet, and the kind of player who can single-handedly turn a struggling franchise into must-see TV. The energy she's brought to the Fever is unreal. The stands, packed, the merch, flying off shelves. Suddenly, Indiana looks like the place every player wants to be.
And like I've said, there's so many pros to playing for the Indiana Fever. The pros being that you get more attention, you get more endorsements, you get a chance to win, you get fans on the road or away, or at home. All these things come to you when you're playing for the Fever.
But here's where it gets even juicier. it's not just about Clark. A culture was built thanks to the Fab Four of Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Lexi Hull. A culture of teamwork, camaraderie, and selflessness. That's why all-stars, veterans, and fan favorites are flocking to Indiana like it's the hottest new club. DeWanna Bonner, Sydney Colson, Natasha Howard, Sophie Cunningham, big names with big games. These aren't players looking for a paycheck. They're looking for a legacy, and they see it in Indiana.
Regardless, so many players decided they were going to go to the Indiana Fever in the offseason, which was the death knell for a lot of those narratives. You know, they weren't traded. Cunningham was traded there, but Natasha Howard signed with the Indiana Fever. And I think more importantly, DeWanna Bonner signing with the Indiana Fever was representative of that. Sydney Colson as well, of course. But Bonner, because she is, you know, in a relationship with Alyssa Thomas, and Alyssa Thomas had said what she said about fans after the playoff loss, it goes to show you that I think hopefully all that stuff has been put in the rear view. And of course, Bonner is a pro.
Why? Because winning teams attract winners. When a franchise starts making noise, it comes with perks. National TV games, sold-out arenas, endorsement deals, you name it. Players aren't just thinking about their next layup. They're thinking about building their brand, securing their future, and maybe even adding a few extra commas to their bank accounts.
No argument that the Fever are a great basketball destination, that Caitlin Clark is a great basketball player, that they have a great fan base. I guess that's ultimately what you're going to see, right? Because so many of those Fever fans, I've seen them, they're the ones watching Unrivaled. They're the ones watching women's college basketball. Others too.
Now, I know what some people are thinking. Isn't this all just hype? Well, if it's hype, it's the most effective marketing campaign in sports history, because the Fever went from nobody cares to everybody's watching in a matter of one season. And you better believe the experts are paying attention. Analysts who used to dismiss Indiana are now scrambling to figure out how they pulled this off.
Then Sydney Colson, who was on the Aces, and so many of the Aces fans were always, you know, kind of, and Colson chooses the Indiana Fever. You know, it really does. I do think the BS is behind us, which is just great.
But here's the secret. It's not just hype. It's a movement. The Fever aren't just a team anymore. They're a statement, a symbol of what happens when you combine raw talent, a passionate fan base, and a front office that actually knows what they're doing. This isn't about luck. It's about vision. These players aren't joining Indiana because of some fleeting social media buzz. They're here because they see the potential, they see the future, and most importantly, they see wins on the horizon.
And then DeWanna Bonner says, yeah, you know, champion, right? Veteran. I choose to go there, despite what was out there, despite the fact that I played for the Connecticut Sun. And that was as heated as it may get. You know, Dejanay Carrington was on her team, tweeting up a storm after every game. And even Alyssa Thomas said what she said.
So yeah, maybe in years past, people were clowning the Fever. Now, the joke's on them. Indiana isn't just back. They're leading the charge. And if you blink, you'll miss the revolution happening right in front of your eyes. This isn't just a big moment for the Indiana Fever. It's a seismic shift shaking the foundation of the entire WNBA. Players aren't just choosing teams based on contracts anymore. They're looking at culture, fan engagement, and where they can leave a legacy. It's not just about playing games, it's about becoming a legend.
It's a lot. I mean, it already helped. Knowing that they get to root for Caitlin Clark helps, but seeing Kelsey Mitchell come back and that welcome, like, she's being celebrated. And we celebrated her too, right? Like, that's how they felt. We celebrated her. People tried to tell us we didn't, but we did. You know, and Aaliyah Boston and the All-Star votes, and Lexi Hull getting the endorsements that she's got. And that was the existing core. And then you bring in the new look Fever, Natasha Howard, a veteran, a winner, says, I choose to go here, play with Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston. And that says something.
And let's be real for a second. DeWanna Bonner's move? That's not just another free agency signing. That's a statement. She saw the drama, the noise, the so-called toxic fan base talk, and basically said, yeah, I'm betting on Indiana. And when a champion, someone with rings, receipts, and real clout, makes a move like that, the whole league takes notice. The courage it takes to do that? Unmatched. We're talking about a player who's been through battles on the court, but decided the real fight was off the court this time.
Which is just great. That's great for all of those fan bases I just mentioned, right? Like, it should be great. I mean, I know the Aces fans have had a tough time, but it should be great for any fan of the game, any fan of the sport, any fan of the WNBA actually growing. Because anybody who was focusing so much of their energy on that, come on. Like, you don't actually love the sport. You weren't actually talking about the game or the player.
Now you might be thinking, okay, but what's the big deal about one player defending some fans? Well, let me tell you, it's huge. Bonner's stand isn't just about Indiana Fever fans. It's about flipping the narrative for the entire league. She's forcing players, coaches, and even those crusty old analysts who think they know everything to rethink how they talk about teams and their supporters.
Like, it's not the same situation. You've got a 38-year-old vet, one of the best players in the entire WNBA history, one of the best players in WNBA history, honestly, coming to the Fever. And look, as long as she plays defense and is better than Katie Lou Samuelson, like, she's on the Katie Lou money. I don't care. Like, as long as she is better than Katie Lou Samuelson, it's fine.
But here's where things get really wild. Bonner's move isn't just reshaping Indiana. It's reshaping the WNBA landscape. Remember when the storyline was, nobody wants to play for the Fever? Yeah, that narrative just got dunked on like it owed someone money. Bonner's signing shows that Indiana isn't just some afterthought. It's the place to be. And the ripple effect? Other stars are watching, thinking, wait, maybe Indiana is where it's at.
But yeah, it's just a mad old situation. It's mad enough that DeWanna Barnes actually had to come out on Twitter to talk about it. She doesn't even use the app. Again, the last time she tweeted was June, after the Sky fans went berserk at her on social media because of the Alyssa Thomas chokeslamming Jerice.
And this goes beyond Indiana. This whole situation is igniting conversations about fan culture across the league. Instead of fixating on a few loud negative voices, people are finally starting to celebrate the passion and dedication that real fans bring to the table. Imagine the impact that could have on the WNBA as a whole, shifting the focus from negativity to genuine fan love. Bonner's bold stand is also changing how players interact with fans and the media. She's showing that it's okay to speak up, challenge the narrative, and stand by your choices. That's a game changer in a league where athletes are often expected to just smile, nod, and keep it moving.
Bonner, like, she's 38 years old. She knows, just turn off Twitter. And that's the thing. I would say Sydney Colson, who has the biggest Twitter fingers in the WNBA, I don't think she takes herself seriously enough to care about any of this stuff. And then the rest of the players don't use this app. So yeah, it should be an interesting season, especially when, if any of Colson, Bonner, or Natasha Howard are good, they'll instantly be one of the most popular players in the W.
And guess what? Other players are paying attention. It's like Bonner opened the floodgates, and now everyone's rethinking how they engage with fans and how they view team culture. We might be on the brink of a whole new era in the WNBA, all because one player decided to take a stand.
Even without DeWanna Bonner, I would have thought the Fever were one of the favourites to win last year. Even without her. So with her, surely they have to win more games than they did last year. But it's like, you've basically replaced, like, last year the first game was starting Erica Wheeler at the 1, Caitlin at the 2, Katie Lou at the 3, and Alyssa Smith and Leah Boston. Like it's just so much better, no matter what.
Picture the domino effect. Players feeling genuinely supported, fans more engaged than ever, and the league riding a wave of positivity. It's like Bonner lit a match, and now the whole WNBA is ablaze with excitement. Can you believe how one player's decision can ripple through an entire league? So, what's next? Is this the end of all the WNBA drama, or are we just getting started? Let's be honest, with the league growing, evolving, and breaking barriers like never before, this is just the beginning. The WNBA isn't just expanding its fan base, it's evolving into something even bigger, even better. And the best part? We're all here for the ride. Do you agree? Let us know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.